Chapter 21, End of the Road. Operation 22 Green had dragged on for almost 3 years, and that was enough for John Carr and the ATF. I'd been stumbling my way toward the finish line for months, at times so worn out I was crawling on hands and knees. But when I finally broke the tape and collapsed, I couldn't believe the damn thing was over. The end came unceremoniously over the usual lunch at the Little Luau. I was talking to John about the assault at Warmer Springs when he cut me off. I'm shutting down 22 Green. And there it was, just like that. ATF was cashing its chips and getting out of the game. This has been in the works for 3 or 4 months, John continued. I just didn't want you thinking about it until that time came. Well, now it's time. When, I said after a moment. If all goes according to plan, we're looking at early March. Man, I should have been dancing on the tables at the Little Luau and singing the Hallelujah chorus. I'd been waiting a hell of a long time for that moment, but now that it was here, I wasn't sure how to feel. I've been married to the case for years, long enough for it to become a huge drag on my life, and yet there was this insane part of me, one that probably needed to be lobotomized, that still wanted to make the marriage work, to keep 22 Green going and see how far we could take it. In fact, I was just days away from telling Big Roy to go fuck himself and hooking up with the chapter in San Fernando Valley. Hell, I'd even thought of going after a charter of my own. And with Charles up in Victorville, we've been making grand plans to bring all of Green Nation to its knees. But none of that was happening now. Once the plug was pulled, I'd have to be satisfied with whatever washed down the pipe. John could tell I was less than enthused. What's up with you? This is what you've been waiting for. I think there's more that we can do, I said lamely, and the words sounded nuts leaving my mouth. I've been hanging with the South Side, if I could. Whoa, hold on, dude, John interrupted. This is my call. We can't go on forever. ATF won't let that happen. I had to pick a date. It's done. So let's just take what we've got and call it a day. It's time to end this. We've got enough for a RICO, I muttered after a long pause. So, that's the plan? We've got evidence of racketeering and weapons, drugs, and murder. We'll proceed on that basis and see what happens. I nodded. Just remember, when this is over, I want in that cell with Roy and Todd. And just like I told you before, I can't promise that, he answered. John went back to his teriyaki. I'm about to start pulling warrants, he said, and ate. Things will get tricky now, especially on a case this size. There'll be a lot of communication with a lot of different agencies, a lot of paperwork crossing desks. The operational security issues would be enormous. John Carr was pulling 86 search warrants and arrest warrants for Riverside, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, Orange, and Ventura counties, covering Southern California towns and cities as far north as Port Anini, south to Murrieta, west to Manhattan Beach, and east to High Desert. Every Vagos president, sergeant-at-arms, and secretary-treasurer in Southern California was on the list to have their homes searched. Operation 22 Green was shaping up as the largest gang takedown in the United States history. Because of its unprecedented magnitude, John's biggest concern was the threat from within the ranks of law enforcement. Cops talked to cops, and there were a shitload of lawmen in my neck of the woods who had grown up around the Vagos, gone to school with them, even got shit-faced with them. There were big question marks about an officer in Apple Valley, a couple from Hesperia, and 6 from San Bernardino, one who was later terminated for passing information along to the Vagos. Charles had once shared drinks with the Barstow deputy who tipped him off to a search of Psycho's home over a stolen motorcycle. Because of these operational security concerns, it had been decided that only team leaders would be told of the takedown beforehand. The rank and file officers would be kept in the dark until after the takedown was underway. You might want to think about getting out of the house, John continued. If things break bad, you want to distance yourself from Jenna so she doesn't get caught up in it. Spread the word you split with her. I think it'd be best for all of you, including the kid. We finished lunch and headed into the parking lot, where I immediately reached for my smokes. There's something else we need to talk about, said John, as he fished for his car keys. What do we do about the WITSEC? If you want to start the ball rolling with the marshals, now's the time. Since John had first mentioned the witness security program, I'd spent plenty of time thinking and praying on it. And the more I did, the more WITSEC appealed to me. I could start over again. My entire shameful past would be wiped out. In my next life, no one would know the drug dealing, multiple felon, racist asshole I'd once been. I'd be the phoenix rising from the ashes, a man once known as George Rowe. But the question was, with all the baggage I'd collected, would this bird even fly? I was way the fuck over the weight limit, man. And John Carr had his doubts as well. He wasn't sure if I'd ever get off the ground. Look, George, he was telling me, we both know Jenna's a party girl. Your fiance loves drugs. I don't see her giving up that lifestyle, do you? Instead of answering the obvious, I lit a cigarette. And here's something else to think about, he continued. Even if Jenna is willing to go to the program with you, and that's a big if, there's no guarantee her little girl can go too. What? Why not? Because you're not her biological father. Whoever the father is would have to sign off. He'd have to give up all the parental rights to Sierra. Billy, the asshole whose head I'd use for soccer practice? Oh shit. And you're just telling me this now? Hey, I've never dealt with this kind of situation before, okay? Everything's a lot more complicated. And to be honest, even if everything works out the way you like, Jenna's gung-ho to go, and Sierra's dad signs off, I can't promise the marshals will even take you. This is a family package now, and that's a lot more work and expense for the marshals. You're a hard sell, George. See what I'm saying? Yeah, I saw what he was saying, and it was a goddamn mess. There were just too many questions without answers. The easiest thing to tell John was, fuck it. What have I got to lose? Let's go for it. John was in the back bedroom, shuffling through family tree service paperwork when I got back to the house. In a few weeks, I'd be walking away from the business I built over 14 years, and 6 employees would be headed for the unemployment line. More collateral damage. Man, the body count was really piling up. Me and old Joe cracked a bottle and talked until Jenna came home. I started by telling him ATF was pulling the plug on 22 Green, which he was relieved to hear. Then I told him the rest, that I was applying for witness security, but he couldn't come. I saw the air go out of my friend like a pricked balloon. So, what happens to me? You can come with me when the takedown happens. We'll hang together until the marshals come for us. John says that could take months. And then what? I squirmed a little, then said, John promised he'd look out for you. He'd get you to a safe place. Sure, he says that now, said Joe ruefully. My buddy was feeling down, and I hated to do it, but I had to kick him in the head one more time. Listen, man, I need you to look after Jenna for a bit. Nothing permanent. It just has to look that way until the takedown. If she won't leave with me, it'll be better for her. If she looks like we broke up. He shook his head. You're putting me in the middle, brother. And you know, that's not a place I like to be. Old Joe was right, of course. But in the end, the man did as I asked. Joe used to say all he ever wanted from life was a 1954 Ford F100 pickup and a new set of teeth. I hope someday that boy gets everything he asked for, because after all the shit I put him through, he sure does deserve it.